Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Only One Hotspur podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm joined here today with Wes.
Uh,
We are going to be talking all things Tottenham. Obviously, giving you a little insight into what we're going to do. So, all things Tottenham based. That can be transfers, everything. But today, as it is a year anniversary of the Champions League final, forget about the result for a minute. We're going to talk about that because me and Wes both have slightly different stories about it. Because one of us was lucky enough to actually have a ticket, while the other one was still in Madrid, but in some dodgy club. So, Wes, how about you start off telling us about your journey a little bit and go from there?
right, so first of all, big thank you, Joe, for setting this all up and whatnot. In terms of journeys to Madrid, I guess it wasn't the most glamorous of journeys. Having to get on a coach with my dad for 30 hours. Obviously after the semi-final against Ajax, in my head I was adamant, I'm going to Madrid, and there was nobody stopping me going. But you speak to family, and sort of common sense sort of takes over, unfortunately. So yeah, it was one of those, and like I say, I ended up going on the coach from London Victoria, leaving at a stupid o'clock in the morning. Like I say, 30 hours, and then getting into Madrid nice and early. I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. So nothing was open. Madrid was a bit of a ghost town, but we actually got dropped off pretty much outside the Wanda Metropolitano and whatnot. So we were like, oh, this is brilliant. But I actually think we got dropped off at the Liverpool end, which was fairly strange. Fairly strange. I think people were sort of wondering why that was, and still to this day, I don't particularly know why. So yeah, then met up with or got to know somebody who'd gone out on his own, a guy called Matt who lives in Northampton and stuff like that. So yeah, we got given the metro passes as well, because I was the lucky one that got the ticket to the final. So yeah, we got metro passes given to us as well by the club and things like that. So yeah, we just sort of had a bit of a wander around, got on the metro to the Bernabeu, had a bit of a walk around there. And everything else. Did bump into a particular fan who I don't think I can really repeat what he ended up doing, but fair to say, he definitely had nerves of steel to pull off what he did do.
The suit guy.
Yeah, I can't really go into too much detail on it, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to, but I think that's a conversation for perhaps another time. So yeah, like I say, ended up meeting him, and then got back into sort of central part of Madrid, where in and around where the fan zone was, not too far. So I had a bit of a bite to eat. Checked in with my mum because she was wondering where we were, what we were up to, and if we got there safe and everything. Mum doing a mum thing, I guess, and making sure that we were all right. But no, yeah, we were all pretty sound. And yeah, like I say, I had a bit of a bite to eat and everything, and yeah, headed over to the fan zone, and it was just carnage out there. Honestly, it was just bodies everywhere. And people singing, and then met up with your good self.
That's your highlight, wasn't it?
And then bumped into a couple of other people as well that I knew from university, who'd made the trip out there, managed to stay in like a villa or something, but hadn't got tickets and everything. So yeah, and then met up with some people that sit behind me and my dad at Spurs as well. And yeah, just sort of tried to soak up a bit of the atmosphere from the day and everything. But I know your journey was fairly similar to Madrid as well, was it not?
Yeah, it was, to be fair. We went from Liverpool Street though, around the same sort of time. It was silly o'clock. I think I caught the first train out of Leighton Buzzard. I was like about 3 o'clock in the morning. Got there, got myself a Mackie breakfast, happy days. Waiting for my coach. And I'm not going to lie, I was absolutely buzzing when I saw my coach. As I think I told you, it was a proper luxury coach. I was thinking, oh my, I've hit jackpot here. But about 20 hours in or whatever, well, not even 20, about 10 hours in, you're thinking, yeah, it's not exactly that much better because still not the most comfortable situation to be in, is it, being on that coach? And even though I was one of the first ones on the coach, I didn't think about where I sat in particular that well because I sat next to the bog.
Brilliant.
So obviously there's a lot of people drinking, and so there's a lot of people using that bog. And that after quite a few hours, it started to smell quite bad. But yeah, it's crazy. And obviously when we got out there, I think we arrived a little bit later than you. I think the first thing I done was go straight to the fan zone. Got a pint at about 9 o'clock in the morning.
As you
Only
do,
time that,
as you do.
it's got to be done. Then I think I met you quite soon after, to be fair. Obviously in the fan zone, which unreal. Like obviously I didn't have a ticket, so that was sort of the reason why I went out there, for the atmosphere, to be with all the Tottenham fans. Like who it was unreal. Um, then obviously mine was a bit different when it got closer to the game. So obviously when you started to go off to the game, lucky, um, I went to meet the people I was with on a coach, who I met on the coach, and they were at this bar, and the best bar I've ever been to in my life. They done drinks for like 150. Like how can you complain? Um, then into like this little club. It was really weird because it was just all metal as you sort of went in. It's like you was going into a spaceship, to be honest with you. Then you went down into the club, and it was insane atmosphere up until kick-off. In there, just songs galore, singing every Tottenham song in the book, and it was just amazing. Um, Obviously, when we separated at the fan zone, your route to the ground, what were your sort of feelings on the game coming up? Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as you mentioned there, we did sort of separate and go our different ways after being in the fan zone for quite a bit of time, and we managed to get something to eat as well in the fan zone, which was actually quite nice. And yeah, I just remember just bodies everywhere, like literally everywhere. Everywhere you'd turn and there was just somebody there, and there was just somebody else there. Or remember some people turning up. I think they had like Norwich City kits.
Yeah, I've got a photo of that still on my phone. And I saw that earlier on memories. I was like, oh yeah.
that was a bit random, but yeah, I mean that was still quite good crack. But yeah, in terms of separating and us going our different ways, it was decided to get to the ground fairly really early, just because of it's an occasion. I think in it you want to try and soak it and take it all in as much as you can, I think. But no, like getting on the metro again, and following loads and loads of Spurs fans singing on the metro. Again, like you mentioned just now about going through the full repertoire of songs, that's literally what was going on, on the metro, and things like that. I was starting a few of them off. I do have a tendency to start off a good Spurs song. So yeah, no, that was that, and it was just one of those things that it was, you just sort of speaking to other people, not only like on the way there, but in the fan zone, and it's just like I don't think many people could actually believe that Tottenham Hotspur, little old Tottenham, were in a Champions League final. And I think the way that we got there as well, it was just, I'm sure as most people know, it was the most incredible journey for us to get there. But yeah, you know, we got in. You know, we're walking up towards the ground. You know, you see all the marketing stuff. You know, the banners with the two teams on it. It has your UEFA Champions League final on it, Madrid, all that kind of thing. You know, as you keep walking, you get a bit closer to it. You know, the excitement builds up. Getting through a couple of levels of security. You know, the police are there with the guns, and you're thinking, oh, this could go anyway here. But no, thankfully we both got for. I think it might have been me actually. I had a problem with my ticket because they use these pens, these sort of like they like highlight of bingo pens kind of thing to mark the ticket to see if it was a fake. And I think
they do that with like money, don't they? They've got the pens for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I think I had a problem with mine, and I was thinking, oh God, no, like no, please, I've trekked 30 hours for this, like no, not now, not to like but no, got through, and yeah, just got a couple of pictures with my dad outside the ground, and yeah, walked in. So we went with Matt, who I mentioned earlier that we met, and he was in a different part of the ground, so we sort of separated off, found a point that we'd meet back up with again after the game, and yeah, just got in. And then there was like, as you got in, it was fairly strange because you got into the ground, and then there was like a massive bit kind of outside the ground, and then you know there was like different sort of concession stands, but they weren't really noticeable. There wasn't really, you know, sign written or anything like that, like they are perhaps in British stadiums and stadia. So no, we just got in, made sure we got program and that, and yeah, took our seats and just soaked it all in really. And I think the thing that got me with the stadium was that I think that was my first real sort of experience of watching Tottenham away, if you like, in a European country. I've never been to a European away day before, so yeah, that was something that was ticked off. But I think as well, like inside the ground, you know, like say for example at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, you know, in that south stand, you've got the different programs from games gone by and things like that on the walls. There was literally nothing on the walls. I don't know if that's the stadium, what it's like usually for an Atletico Madrid match day or anything else. I don't know if we were in what you would probably class as the away end from my view. I was quite high up and things like that, up in the gods as we like to say. So yeah, but there was nothing like on the walls or anything. It was almost like the concrete. It was just concrete, like, and that was that. And it was very plain, very boring, really. But it did feel a bit weird sitting on a red seat as well, because you know, us Spurs fans, we don't do reds. Yeah, we don't do reds. So yeah, that did feel a bit weird. But no, just like I say, trying to take in the whole atmosphere and the whole game and things like that. But you know, I guess it was a bit of a contrast being in a small venue that you was in.
Yeah, it really was, because obviously where we was, it was literally only Tottenham fans allowed. I think they were only serving certain drinks as well, because I think they thought, right, just get stuff that's easy, because it's just easy to give across the bar as well. The only thing that I can remember drinking was Budweiser, and I don't even like that. And we bought that in bulk. But the atmosphere in there, it was just unreal, and I've never really felt anything like that. The closest I probably have was when I went to Barcelona away, when I was in the home end, but it's an away day, the same. But you just can't put words on the experience, I don't think. Like,
I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I mean, I was very, very lucky and fortunate to be able to do it with my dad, who I go to Spurs with pretty much all the time. And it was just one of those things. I mean, the experience itself was just unbelievable and amazing and all of those types of words. But I think just to do it with my dad was just that extra special, because
yeah,
don't get me wrong, I've not got loads and loads of pictures or videos or anything from the day, but the ones I have got, it's just like I say, a special memory. That, and all right, as we all know, the result didn't go our way and everything, but the whole experience and the whole day, I think, that's something that no one's going to be able to take away from me, really, or any Spurs fan that made the trip out. I don't think anyone's going to begrudge them the fact that they've made it. They at least made it out there. Like, there was so many people that didn't have tickets, but they were just there, a bit like yourself, just for the experience and the atmosphere of just be. It was just one of those things that you spoke to people in the fan zone and just said, look, I just had to come. I just had to be here.
yeah.
Spent an absolute fortune doing it, bless them, but they did it, and that was the thing. And so I think as well, the Europa League final was in the midweek, out in Baku, and I couldn't have wished it on to better teams, really, to have a more awkward place to get to. But I had the discussion with some people afterwards in the couple of days leading up to the final, and it was like, if it was Spurs in Baku, we'd have sold it. Like, we'd
Oh,
have sold it 100%. People would have just found a way to do it, just like they did for Madrid,
yeah,
things like that.
yeah. That's definitely true, because, like, say if we ever get to another European final, wherever it is, I will always try and get a ticket, even if it is in Baku. Like, you have to get, I don't know, what would I have to get? Like, planes, buses, trains. Probably had
Yeah,
to get like Royal Navy boats up as well, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but yeah. Like, for me, as soon as that final whistle went, in Amsterdam, I was right. I need to find a place, but I need to find a way to get there. And the person I actually watched the Amsterdam game with, we were like, oh, how are we going to get there? Flights. We literally looked at flights straight off, because that's the obvious. We're like, that's not happening. Um, we then even talked about hiring a car and driving, and stuff like that. Obviously, that didn't happen. He didn't even end up going out in the end. 'Cause I think he had a family and everything. So I don't think his missus would have been too happy. Um, but I found a way to do it. I actually left on my brother's birthday as well, so I didn't even get to wish him a happy birthday. So I left the house about 2:45 in the morning. But he forgave me. He knew the circumstances. Um, but it was unreal. But I guess we're getting on to the game now, and I guess we have to talk about it a little bit. And we don't have to um, get far into the game for the game to be done, in a way, really, do we?
well, no, it was a bit of a strange feeling, sort of being in the ground, and lots of different things going on pre-match and everything, and finding out the team news as well. That was an interesting one, I think. But before then, I was seeing loads of different bits from UEFA, what they were doing, like in the build up to the final. They'd done the esports thing, and I know two people that commentate on the esports stuff. So I think they had, like, those guys were on as well on the big screens, and I think they had, like, Yaya Toure doing something as well. But no, like, finding out the team news and finding out that Harry Kane was starting, I think was a big thing. I actually thought it was a boost to us that he was fit, because I think if you talk about Tottenham, especially in recent years, you talk about Tottenham, the next person or the next thing that usually comes alongside it is Harry Kane. So yeah, I was glad that he was starting, and when you see that he's starting, you think we've got a chance, and things like that. So yeah, that was interesting to see that, and to see it all come through. Obviously, unfortunate for Lucas Moura, for him starting on the bench, but for me, I was a firm believer that, because you had a lot of questions from different people throughout the day of, is Kane going to start? Should he start? And my stance was, if he's got any chance of playing, he must play, because, like I say, you speak about Tottenham. Usually, Harry Kane is usually the next thing that people speak about afterwards. And for me, he's probably Tottenham's best player. So, you know, you're going into a cup final, and you've got to have your best players in a cup final. So it would be a bit strange if Kane wasn't playing. I know he didn't particularly play much towards the end of the season, if not at all, and whatnot. But like I say, it's a cup final, and you know, you need your best players for a cup final, and things like that. It's unfortunate on Lucas. You know, obviously, no one can forget his heroics. You know, the hat trick in Amsterdam and everything else. But yeah, like I say, for me, it was one of those where if Harry Kane's fit, he plays. And I don't particularly get this argument of that Tottenham are a better team without Harry Kane. I don't get where that's come from, like, at all. But yeah, no. So we've gone from the team news, and you know, coming out in the tracksuit tops, and everyone, and like, they did look smart, I must admit. And then I think a lot of people are going, oh, they'll probably be next season's ones and everything else. And I think there was a slight murmur that we might be playing in next season's, like, i.e. this season's kit in the final. Obviously, we didn't. Just the regular kit that we'd had throughout that season. And I must admit, it was just a sense of pride seeing my team out there. Obviously, did the minute silence for Jose Antonio Reyes, who unfortunately passed away on the day. And I must say, even though he was ex-Arsenal, Spurs fans observed that impeccably, and everything else. So yeah, I think there was. I think they played "You'll Never Walk Alone" as well in the sort of lead up to kickoff. And there was one Liverpool fan not too far away from where I was, and you know, you probably argue I was in the stronghold Tottenham end. I wasn't in the neutral bit or anything, so I was pretty much firmly in the Tottenham end. And somehow a Liverpool fan had got himself in there and whatnot, and he stood up and started singing "Never Walk Alone," and people, like Spurs fans, booing over the top of it, and everything. And yeah, there was a few people having a bit of a go at this particular guy because he'd managed to somehow get in the Tottenham end, and things like that. So yeah, and then obviously the game kicked off, and 23 seconds later, Moussa Sissoko decides to this day, I'm still not 100% sure what he's doing. But the thing was, everyone was singing his name very loud, very proud, in the fan zone and whatnot before the game, and things like that. And then 23 seconds later, I'm not saying he cost us the final. I'm not saying it's VAR that's cost us the final, but it was just, it's just that, isn't it?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I'm the same. I still, to this day, don't know what he's thinking there. I'd love to meet him and ask him. I think that would be the first question I would ask him. First of all, Musa, what was you doing?
Because the thing for me is that wasn't particularly. I don't think Trippier was really overloaded.
No.
On that particular side. So Sissoko's, I'm guessing, is going out to try and double up. But yeah, don't sort of put your hand up in the air and try and direct traffic in the middle of Madrid. Like, it was just no need for it, really. But no, it was it was a strange one. I think, you know, I know loads of Spurs fans were going for like VAR, everything like that, and I think my dad was wondering like what's happening, and I said he's given the penalty. He's got to. And my dad's like, what for? I said, well, I don't really know, because I don't think anybody in the ground really knew what it was for until you sort of see the replays afterwards, and then you know, Spurs fans are going, it's a bit harsh, or you know, it's hit his side or something, and things like that. But no, it was once it had been cleared by VAR and it was given, the whole stadium just went like the whole Tottenham end, should I say, not the whole stadium, because half of them are Liverpool fans. But you can imagine, one side of the ground is rejoicing, and the others, head in hands and things like that. And I remember going off on a bit of a mad one and sort of saying to my dad, like, because it was that sense of we'd worked so hard to get there, and the journey that we'd had, and it was almost as if it was gone inside 30 seconds. And that is probably the most painful bit of the whole, because listen, we all know Origi goes on and scores in the 90th minute to sort of seal it for them. But, I know it's all if, buts and maybes, but, it's just one of those, if perhaps that hadn't have happened or it wasn't given, you don't know the dynamic and how the game would have gone or anything like that. But, yeah, it was just one of those where I think you can accept it a little bit more if it was later on in the game. But because it was so early, it was a bit like...
it sort of kills it.
It did, but, Salah sticks away the penalty and everything else. And like I say, inside the ground was very, a lot of Spurs fans, heads in hands and annoyed, frustrated. Probably the best two words I could probably use to describe the feeling in the Tottenham end. I don't know what it was like where you were.
It was just didn't. It is so hard to put into words because everyone, literally that first 20 seconds, everyone was buzzing, and then it's gone. Everyone's like, hold up, he's given a penalty. But obviously, where we were seeing all the replays, and then people I sort of stood with were like, oh no, they're going to overturn that. That's hit him in the armpit. It's probably got BO on it, let alone his hand. And then the next thing you know, it just literally, I remember it so clear. I was like, that's being overturned. That's certainly being overturned. Next thing, it's literally Salah standing over the ball at a penalty spot. I'm like, oh, it's not. And then as soon as you see him standing over it, he was never missing that. Not after what had happened to him personally the year before. He was always going to score that penalty. And he absolutely smashed it, didn't he? He did not leave anything, obviously straight down the middle, but I think that was, to be fair to him, that's probably the smartest way to do a penalty that early on in the game, because a goalkeeper is going to want to be a hero that early on, isn't he? So he's going to want to make a save. So he's thinking, oh, what way shall I dive? He's like, right, he's going to dive because he wants to be the hero, but straight down the middle. But after that, for about I can't quite remember how long it was, but it felt like ages. The whole place just went a bit dead. Just because I think, as you said, we'd worked so hard to get to the final, and it just felt like it'd been ripped away from us. And it's just crazy to think it was that early on in the game. I'll tell you what, though, I do give the ref credit on one part. Definitely had a lot of mental strength to give that penalty that early on in the game, in that big of a game. But it did sort of change probably the way Liverpool would have played. Because I was talking to a Liverpool fan the other day who actually travelled out there. And what he said was that made that set Liverpool in the way to win it, because they could then play in a certain way. They didn't then have to be as open. So then, obviously, then we as a team having to try and score. So that just set the tempo of the game.
Yeah, I think as well, Liverpool's game management in-game management was one of the best that I think I've seen. I think they'd learned a lot of lessons from the year before playing Real Madrid. They'd learned a lot in just terms of, right, we've got the lead, you're going to play the game at our pace, and we're going to take our time over free kicks, throw-ins, and everything else. So yeah, I think, like I say, the game management was second to none. It was superb, and that's probably what saw them through the final. And that, for the neutral, it's been dubbed one of the worst Champions League finals. And I think, I'm not saying that's the reason why, because Liverpool had every right to do it. They're 1-0 up. They don't need to go chasing the game. They've got the lead, everything else. And we weren't really a team that could really go and really take the game to a top side like Liverpool. I think our league form had, we'd struggled massively just to, even in some games, string 3 passes together. Let alone try and break teams down. So I don't know if that was something that potentially performance analysts had looked at and gone, look, if we get a goal early, we've pretty much got it. Just sit in, be patient, and then we'll get an opportunity and get the second goal. So yeah, like I said, I don't know if there was a bit of a pattern there, but I know for sure that we definitely struggled. Like I say, breaking teams down, and that was another example of that. But I must say as well, I thought Harry Winks that night was outstanding, and I thought he put in a really, really good performance as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, on Harry Winks' part, obviously me and you are both massive fans of him. Obviously, there's some people who aren't, don't know why. Um, I'd love to know why. But it, the thing is, obviously, Liverpool did then play in that certain way, as we've said. And I'm not saying that's anything bad, because if that had happened, say if we had gone 1-0 up, both of us would want to play probably in a similar way if it meant getting a win. But I
100%.
don't think exactly. So you look at that, and you don't have any. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I don't want to be getting pelted by Liverpool fans for saying that, because fair play. You've won the game, you've won the Champions League final. But I think, as I've said to a few people before as well, that them being in the final the year before, I think that was the biggest part of that game, because they'd been there the year before. They were determined to win that.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%.
So,
like I say, they'd learned so many lessons from the year before playing Real Madrid. And there was definitely a sense of, you could almost sense it amongst the players for Liverpool that there was unfinished business on their part, and they came with a certain game plan, and it definitely worked. It definitely worked for them, and whatnot. So yeah, like I say, I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't, if it happened to Spurs and we went 1-0 up that early. Chances are I would have 100% wanted us to just see the game out. But knowing Spurs as we do, we'd have probably conceded a late goal or something like that. So yeah.
We would have seen it out to the 90th minute, but then they would have scored 2, like
yeah,
Milan.
yeah, probably. So yeah, that was, I would say, slightly frustrating, because we didn't have. I don't think Ericsson particularly stepped up in that particular game, and he's one that usually knits things together for us. He links play from deep, moving up the pitch, and things like that. He can potentially come up with a long range shot on, like he has done, like he did do on many occasions, and it flies into a corner and everything else. But yeah, it was underwhelming. It was an underwhelming sort of performance, I think, from Spurs. But then, when it does go, when the game dynamic changes after 30 seconds, it can be difficult. But then people sort of, I think loads of Spurs fans were hoping and everything else. They were keeping the faith and saying, look, there's plenty of time here. We've in effect got 90 minutes. Let's
more than that.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. But like, unfortunately, it wasn't for us on that particular day. But Yeah, I think the game itself was a bit frustrating and I think it will always frustrate Spurs fans talking about it because of the way that, as we've mentioned, it's all the hype, the build up, the excitement, the anticipation, um, the
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 30-hour
effort.
coach ride.
Yeah, the effort to get out there, and it's all gone inside 30 seconds, and it was just that, oh, brilliant, here we go. Um, so
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know what the atmosphere was like in where you was. I know you mentioned that it went a bit dead for a little while, but was there like a sense of, we still got time, we can potentially do it, or?
Yeah, there was, to be fair. As soon as like it sort of wore off, it took about 5, 10 minutes, as I said, probably closer to the 5. After that, everyone started singing again. We was almost trying to get behind the team, even though we weren't in the ground. Like, if that makes sense, we were singing non-stop, and we were singing non-stop until Origi scored the second. And then as soon as that happened, there was tears, there was just silence. Um, and I I waited because how many minutes were added on? 3 or 4, but whatever it was. I think I waited until about 5 seconds until that was about to go, and I thought I cannot see Liverpool celebrate here. And I walked out, but as I walked out, because it was like a little room, it was a room, and it sort of went out to the stairs. And there's already a man sitting on the stairs, sobbing his eyes out on the stairs.
Bless
And
him.
I was just like, I completely feel how you feel. Then I started walking down the streets of Madrid. Not gonna lie, I was crying as well. I think not really knowing where I was going, I just wanted to get out of that place. I didn't really want to see Liverpool celebrating. Um, but then obviously there was Liverpool fans who didn't have tickets as well, and they'd come out into the street for the opposite reason to celebrate. But I have to admit, every Liverpool fan but one that day who I bumped into was really good. Even before the game, um, I think there was a lot of talk about, oh, there could be trouble because both sort of sets of fans sort of know each other. There's games in England, but there was nothing like that. I think we both sort of respected it's an all English final. This is great for the country. It's great advocate for the Premier League. Um, Even when we stopped um, at one of the service stations on the way up, there's a Liverpool bus that pulled in after us. After we finished slating Liverpool fans for the way they acted, getting off the coach, we just spoke about football, about how great it was. Yeah, after the game, but Liverpool fans actually came up. Oh no, you guys actually did play well. You were the better team in the game. But I had stuff like that being said.
Yeah,
And
and
then one fan did come up.
on that as well, like, I don't know about you, but people had obviously seen that I was going and everything else, and I was getting messages going like, brilliant that you're going out and everything else. And then when I was out there, they were like, look, enjoy the day, may the best team win and all this kind of thing. And I'm going, this is really weird. Can you give me some, like, a bit of stick, because that's what I'm used to. I'm not used to, like, it being nice, and that was the weird feeling. And then even after the game, bumping into Liverpool fans and getting loads and loads of messages afterwards going like, look, unlucky mate, you're a better team, everything else, it's just not your time right now. This was us a year ago, don't worry, you're on to something good. Poch is the man, like, you're going to come back stronger. And everything else. And again, it was really, really weird because you just lost a final, and
And people actually being supportive.
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, there was other people that were taking the mick a little bit and going like, oh, as if Wes has gone all that way to watch his team lose and everything else. But and people going like, oh, what you do it, like, I think there was people saying, like, giving me a bit of stick and stuff like that. And I just replied to them and said, like, what you doing? I said, look, I'm in the ground, like clapping my team, and things like that. So I did stay for a little bit after the game, after it had all finished. Was obviously gutted. Hugged my dad a little bit, and we just sort of we just had that father son moment of like, I know. But yeah, it was gutted really. But like I say, the experience and the whole day is something that no one's ever gonna be able to take away from me. I've seen my team in a Champions League final, like when
Can't get much better than that.
no, obviously winning it would probably be the
only thing.
yeah.
Tops it.
So yeah, that's the only time I think as well that I've seen Spurs in like a cup final, because I haven't been able to go to League Cup finals when we've got there, or FA Cup, even semi-finals. I've not been able to go. So again, that was probably what made it that extra special. But yeah, it was a strange feeling coming out of the ground and receiving all these messages and stuff, because I'm not used to it, and like I say, I'm used to people giving it large, when they've beaten us. So yeah, it was, like I say, that was a strange feeling, because like you see that somebody's messaging you and you go like, oh right, what do these lot want? And then you see that type of message, and I must admit, Liverpool fans, the ones that I know, are generally all right. I must admit. But yeah, that one was a strange one, and even one of my really really good mates who's a Liverpool fan, I was just hoping and praying that we would win, just so I could just give it to him both barrels. But he was very quiet, and I said, like, are you all right? Like, and he was like, yeah, mate, I'm fine. Like, listen, I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of it, on the other end, because it was us a year ago. So I was like, yeah, but you've just won your 6th European Cup. Like, come on. But yeah, no, I must admit, like coming out, there was a few Liverpool fans that had quite a lot to drink, and in a celebratory mood and things like that as well. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, like I say, by and large, Liverpool fans that they receive messages from and everything like that, they're good people first and foremost, which helps, and stuff like that. But yeah, no, like I say, the messages that I got was actually quite touching, and I think that's what made it a bit more emotional, was those messages. I don't know how, if you felt similar about it.
Yeah, I remember a certain few messages. I remember one of my good mates. He isn't even a Liverpool fan; he's a Chelsea fan. He messaged me, and I told him, maybe not as politely, but to go away.
Yeah.
Just quite bluntly. Then he just put laughing faces and then left it, because I think he knew it was just, give him a bit, then he can take a bit of banter. But I just then I was talking to a few people after, like, and yeah, they were more consoling me because I was in absolute state. But it was all right. After a while, I think after I was on the coach and on the way home, I think I then began to realise again, no, we got there. I'm proud of this team. I always was proud, and if I was in the ground as well, there wouldn't have been a chance of me leaving. Like, obviously, I didn't miss any of the game. I literally left as they blew the full-time whistle, just so I
Yeah.
couldn't see. And I think that is a bit different if you're in the ground. I would have stayed, clapped the players. Like,
Yeah,
I've
and I
never
think
not
as well,
clapped the
like
players.
being in the ground and players coming over and clapping, and then Trippier sort of going in a little bit and shaking hands, and I just saw it was at that point then I knew that Trippier was leaving. It almost felt like a goodbye from Trips, and subsequently the ground is now his home ground every week, or every other week, and then he got some slight revenge on Liverpool, because he was part of the Atletico side that that knocked them out, and obviously Llorente got a little bit of revenge, scoring the winner against them for Napoli in the Champions League as well. So glad those boys got some revenge. It's just the others that have been left out, I'm afraid. But yeah, no, that was a point again that I knew that that Trippier was off. It just had that feeling of a goodbye, and that was his last game. And
he'd already put his bet on there, hadn't he?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. So, but yeah, no, like I say, it was that was you coming out of it. You would, like you said, always be proud to be a Spurs fan. I wouldn't support any other club, I don't think. And yeah, it was a gutting experience, and then it turned into a bit of an emotional one because of all the other bits that went along with it afterwards. But I think the funny thing, or the strange thing, is that if we'd have won it, that neither of us would have been able to go and see the trophy parade, because we'd have been on the way back from actually going out to Madrid, for you to experience it and for me to actually be at the game. Like, it's kind of strange knowing that, yes, I was in the ground, I was at the game, but if we'd have won it, I wouldn't have seen the trophy parade back towards the stadium.
That's crazy, I know, because that was one of the worries what I had. Obviously, didn't come to it, but that was one of the things. And I'm not going to lie, when the Liverpool parade started to happen, I looked at my phone. I thought, right, put that down for a few hours. We just played cards, but that would have been weird, because I'd have known people who'd have gone. Like my brother probably would have gone.
This is the thing as well. So my mum and my mum's friend, who lives actually in Tottenham, they had my sort of tickets, because we got tickets for the live screening just in case we didn't get them for the actual final, because that would have probably been perhaps the next best thing, I would have thought. So yeah, but those two would have been able to go and see the trophy parade, and they're not like massive Spurs fans.
No, that's the same with my brother and dad. Like that would have felt weird for me, because I'd have been like, obviously I would have been absolutely buzzing. I probably would have still been in Madrid, because I probably wouldn't have got on the coach home. That's something what I've always said. And I don't think many people could have really been mad at me for that. But yeah, I don't know how I'd have felt like watching or looking at the parade on my phone. I'd have been like, I'm in Madrid, like, and I haven't been able to see the trophy at all. So obviously, I wasn't in the ground, and I wouldn't have been in London the next day. But obviously, it didn't get to that. And instead, we had a long coach journey home. And that one did feel a little bit longer, didn't it?
Definitely. I mean, on the way there, it felt long anyway. I don't know about you, but my coach was fairly quiet throughout the journey. And I didn't think it would be that way, because Tottenham are in a Champions League final. Like, come on. But yeah, didn't think it would be as quiet. It was literally like no singing. I don't know if everybody was knackered because of the time that we had to actually get the coach. And things like that. But yeah, like I say, it was a bit of one of those where, on the way there, I thought, well, at least when like everybody's up, somebody would have started a song or something, unless they were just waiting for somebody to do it. I don't know.
You should have started it.
Yeah, perhaps maybe I should have. Yeah, but no, on the way back, it was certainly quiet. A few miserable and glum faces. People that had been out on the sesh all day as well had come in, and I do remember one mixed race guy, because I was on the top deck. He sort of come up and gave this incredible, like, it just gave this speech. It was just literally out of nowhere. It was just like a few expletives in there as well, but I think the gist of it was like, we made it, well done everyone, conducted yourselves really, really well. And next season we go again. Go again, kind of thing. So I was just like, do you know what? It was one of those, but you know, as the speech was going on, you're thinking this guy could be like Prime Minister or President of the United States or something. Like, I'm right behind him here, and whatnot. But yeah, I do remember that, and yeah, I think that, you know, stopping off every so often made the journey even longer. But
yeah, so we actually bumped into each other on the way back, didn't we? From what I remember, our
I think we
coaches.
did it. I think we did at
Yeah,
one particular service
yeah,
station, probably somewhere in France.
yeah,
At a rough
and
guess.
yeah, because I think on the way back, the biggest highlight was just trying all the different flavoured iced teas what I could find. That was
Brilliant.
but when we got to Dunkirk, I think it was, we had a bit of a problem with our ferry, and it took a while to actually get on the ferry. But then once we was on the ferry, we knew he was on our way back, and I think, yeah, I was quite glad to be back after all that though. And then obviously get myself yet another Mackey's breakfast with you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
And
then
then
you was on the home stretch.
yeah, train ride home and everything. But yeah, I think hygiene unfortunately went out the window on throughout the trip, because okay, we did stop off quite regular, but the amount of the queuing, it was just like you're just going, well, it would have just been like, it was one of those things where you go, just be my luck, just as I get in to get myself a bit sort of cleansed up, the driver will want to head off again or
Yeah,
something like that. So yeah, unfortunately hygiene wasn't top priority. Coming back home, and yeah, first thing my mum said was it all right? Yeah, right, jump in the bloody shower, you, to me and my dad, and
yeah,
things like that. And then we had obviously a bit of a discussion about it, about the whole experience and things like that, and whatnot as well. So yeah, no, it was like I say, I can't believe it's actually been a year to the day that it
is
happened.
crazy.
Messaged a few people, a few Spurs fans that I know and have got to know over the sort of coming years. I just said like Happy Madrid Day, but people will probably think we're crazy because we're celebrating the fact that we got to a final but we lost. But I don't think Spurs fans are really celebrating that. I think we're just celebrating the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, little old Tottenham made a Champions League final.
Exactly, I agree. I actually had a message off someone who I met on the coach saying, "Oh, hi Joe, happy anniversary.
Better
I
love
hope you're
story than
well."
Twilight, that.
Oh, I know. But that's the thing. We haven't actually spoken since at all. And then he just messaged me out of the blue, and that gave me a bit of a smile, a bit of a boost. But I'll tell you what, I do have a little funny story about the hygiene. And it was in the morning of the final because they gave us a little bit longer to get ready. And I took out like shower stuff just in case we actually came across and we had time to have one. So I had like shampoo. And I thought, I can't stand my hair greasy. I know I can't talk much. Well, my hair's not greasy, but I don't have any hair at the minute. My hair's not normally like this. But I was like, I cannot have like one of the best days of my life with greasy hair. I've got to sort something out. So I went. So we, there wasn't. This was one of the service stations without a shower. Literally one of the only ones that we came across. And I was like, brilliant. So I've got to wash my hair in this sink. So I was trying to wash my hair in the sink, and after I've washed it, I thought, wait, I don't have a towel. I didn't have a towel, and I've just washed my
No.
hair in this little service station. So I grabbed like the old top what I was wearing and tried to use that as a towel, but that was a football top, so it didn't really dry it that well. Um, and then I went out into the shop. Obviously, didn't speak a word of English.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Towel? Have you got a towel? I'll buy a towel, but I need to buy a towel." They were like, they didn't understand. They went and got me shower gel, probably trying to take a hint. I was like, no. And then I found.
Did you not do
I
any
found the
actions
best.
like to go with
Oh,
the
I
fact that
did.
you
I
wanted a
did. I
towel?
was going like this. I was going like this. Towel. Didn't have a clue. And the best thing what I could find was you know them fabric scarves.
Yeah.
I found one of them and I bought one of them for €10.
Oh.
Oh, and then that was a good laugh. But nah, yeah. After the first thing I'd done was have a nice bath, and then I tried to sleep, but I couldn't because I think the adrenaline was still going through me. I think I was still processed, going through what had happened. But up to this day, I've got no regrets about going, even though I didn't have a ticket. I don't have any regrets about going on my own, like a lot of people call me mad for doing. But I would, and I would do it all over again.
Oh, listen, I've had this discussion previously about Madrid and things like that, and going you make the joke like 60-hour round like coach journey to watch us in Madrid and everything else, and they're going, people going, you're mental, and I said, do you know what? I would do the whole experience. I'd do it all again. Coach, I'd do all of that again.
Yeah.
And everything else. I'd do it all again. I'd do it all again tomorrow. I'd just find a way of doing it all again tomorrow, 100%, and whatnot. So yeah, I don't have any regrets about the way it, the journey was. Like I say, going by coach. Obviously, the only probably thing that would change is the outcome of the day and the result, and things like that. So. But yeah, I think by and large, I wouldn't change anything. Meeting up with like yourself, meeting up with somebody else who lives in Northampton, meeting up with a couple of people that I knew out there, meeting up with the guys that I sit with at Tottenham, as well. So when I do go to games and whatnot. So yeah, I'd do it all again, 100%, 100% do it all again. And I think as well, I didn't drink like any alcohol at all during the trip, even the day of the game, because it was just one of those things that I wanted to remember like as much of the day as I possibly could, and I knew that if I'd have had a couple, it would have led to probably more, and I perhaps wouldn't have got the, I guess, as many memories from the day as I possibly did. So yeah, that was a big thing for me, and people would probably go, "Oh, sounds a bit boring, this guy," but no, actually, it was. I hope it was for the right reasons and for the good reasons. I have drunk alcohol watching football since, so yeah, it was just that particular one. Like I say, I just wanted to soak it all in and remember as much of the day and the experiences as I could, and that was why I decided not to indulge in an alcoholic beverage today.
I don't know who drank while they were out there,
Well, saying that, the guys that sit behind me, we met them in a small bar, and they had a couple of tables that were just full of beers.
Oh yeah, I was there with you when I remember that.
And the funny thing was as well, they were on out like mine and my dad's row. So they'd come past us, and I mean, I thought the security abroad was, a bit tighter than what it is here, and how they managed to get through, I've got literally like no idea, like at all, because they were well on their way, shall we say. So yeah, they had a good time, those guys.
Yeah, well, each to their own, really. Well, yeah, I think we've pretty much wrapped up everything from that day and the days around it. Obviously, the coaches were a day in themselves, but yeah, as we both said, we've had no regrets about it, and do it all again for our beloved Tottenham Hotspur. Well, guys, that is our first podcast on Only One Hotspur Podcast. Thank you very much, Wes, for coming on.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
And I'm sure we'll be doing another one very soon.
Hopefully.
And yeah, so this will be going out on Spotify, so make sure you give that a listen and give it a follow on there. and also on YouTube. Give it a like, comment, maybe if you went out there, what your experiences were like, or your memories of the game, or maybe even things you want us to talk about in the future. And make sure you subscribe as well, if I can get my words out. Well, thank you very much, everyone.